Is my screen shared?
हाँ जी।
अच्छा, वो स्क्रीन में आने से आएगा। अच्छा, ओके।
Let's start.
या
Hi everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the second episode of IST Practicals. Today's webinar is about Inspect Element, but before we get started, let me tell you what IST Practicals is all about. IST Practicals is a series of free online masterclasses delivered by industry experts. These 45-minute sessions are all about teaching students important concepts, softwares, and tools. Every IST practical is an opportunity to experience practical learning. Today, you all will be learning a completely new skill from scratch. Sounds exciting, right? Well, what's more exciting is our presenter today, Mr. Anuj Kalbelia, an industry expert with over 10 years of experience building backend solutions for reputed organizations like IBM and Internshala. Anuj has also trained students over multiple currents. Some of his students have gone on to work for the likes of Microsoft, Amazon, Software, and even Uber. So, everyone, please welcome Anuj.
hello guys, hope you guys are doing good. It's a festive season, so I'm not sure how into the session you will be, but it should be a short session, so I believe it shouldn't be a problem. So today we will be, as Manpreet said, thanks Manpreet. So today we will be discussing inspect element. So um, before we start, uh, can we, I mean, do you guys know what, how many, I want to have Manpreet a poll to ask you guys how many people have actually heard or learned or know about this inspect element. Can we have a poll, Manpreet, please?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So just choose your options, guys. Yes, no, and submit so that we get a fair idea about our audience.
So,
Yeah, Manpreet.
around 32% have heard about it.
Okay. And 68% have not heard about it.
Yeah.
So majority of the people are quite new with the this inspect element thing, and some of you might be knowing, and there is also an extent how much you know, we don't know. So I hope after this session we will have some good piece of information for all of you. You will learn something out of it. I'll try my best. So today what we learn is, as Manpreet has already mentioned, or you guys know, inspect element. So the primarily two things: what is inspect element, I mean what it is about, and what it is used for, what is the main purpose of it, and how it is being used, and all a bit of detail, so that you can actually, when you go, you learn how to use it. So that's what we'll be learning today about inspect element. So uh, before we actually get there, let's understand about a website. So when we talk about a website, I mean, I hope you guys are at least aware of this much, that this is a web development related topic, and what we talk about web development means all about websites. So when we talk about website, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Facebook, Flipkart, any website, you know, uh, so broadly a website can be broken into three parts. That is how I choose to break it right now. Obviously when we talk about different terms, this will mean differently, but for now, in the thing which I want to explain, I can say that any website can be broken into three parts. The first part, as you can see, is the look and feel part of it, of a website. So So when you open any website, say trainings.internshala.com for here, or maybe the Amazon or any website, what you see in front of you defines the look and feel of a website, how it should look. So every company, every website owner has someone who decides that. We call the person as a designer. There is a designer in a company who decides how a website should look. That's what we call look and feel. And sorry guys, so once that has been decided, the designer presents it to its team, development team, the HTML CSS people, and then it is the responsibility of these people to this developers to write code in HTML and CSS in such a way that the website looks exactly as it is given to them. That so generally designer will draw it in some their tools, maybe Photoshop or something, and they will hand it to the developers, and the HTML and CSS people responsibility is to replicate it as it is, writing HTML and CSS code, and that is how the website works, will look and feel. So that is what we call, that's the first part of a website, any website. The second part of a website is the data. The data, I call it user data. User data as in the user information. So suppose you register yourself in Amazon. So when you register yourself in Amazon, you give certain information. That is how Amazon recognizes you. That it's your name. So my name is Anuj Kalbalia. My email address is anuj.kalbalia@gmail.com. This is how Amazon recognizes me. So when I make a purchase, I mean, I suppose buy a mobile from this thing, that is also information which Amazon needs in order to probably track my order, or maybe to know that I have ordered something. So all this information which user gives it, we call it user information, that the data, user data. And that's the second part of any website. And that is generally stored in a database, which we use MySQL. MySQL is not the only way to do it, but it's the most popular way to do it. So that's the second part of any website. So for example, if you register for trainings.internshala.com and take this training, the fact that you have registered to us, how we will know that this guy has registered for this particular training. So this user information comes, the form you fill, that information comes and gets stored in the database. And if you are doing a training, that the progress you make over the period of time, that information is also getting stored. And so that next time when you come in, suppose you complete the module 1 today and you are coming tomorrow, so obviously we should be able to show you from module 2 and not module 1 again. So this information, we have to store it somewhere, and we store it in form of a data, and we do it in database. So that's the second part of any website, right? The third part is some code to interact with this data which I was talking about. We call this backend code. Why and all will not do that detail. So some code which interacts with the data. So the fact that you fill a form, and where you enter your name, where you enter your email, where you enter your phone number and other information, your college and other things, and when you submit the form, that data should be stored in the database. This particular code, the third layer which I'm talking about, the backend code, is responsible to do that. So any interaction with the database is done with this backend piece of code. This is not responsible for look and feel. This is purely database communication, either storing certain information or even fetching information. Next time when you're logging in, the fact that it shows me, hi Anuj, that Anuj, where this name is coming from, the database. So fetching or storing information from any website is done with this backend piece of code. And there are many languages in which this piece of code can be written. PHP is the most common one. Even Intershala's website is written in PHP. There is Java, there is Ruby on Rails, there is Python. There are so many other websites with which we can write this backend code. So primarily there are many more parts of a website, but primarily these three things are the most important things: look and feel, the data, and some code which interacts with the data. So as I said, so there are multiple options to have database. It's not only MySQL. Similarly, there are multiple backend languages which we can use, not only PHP, but for look and feel, there is no alternative to HTML and CSS. And in this entire session, this is what we will be focusing on. This is where we will move forward from. So the look and feel part of an website. So I hope I was able to make clear this part, because this becomes a significant part of it. So when we open a website, whenever we open a website, uh, I'm moving to the third slide. If I can see some people are messaging me, we can do that after the session. Probably, if that is possible, we will have a question answer session. We can do that. Right now, let's focus on what I'm saying, because I won't be able to see my screen anyway. I will be occupied with what I'm with my materials. So yeah, so I'm focusing on the next slide. So whenever we open a, so we discussed that there are three parts of a website. So when you open a website, any website, so when you open say trainings.internshala.com, so what happens, any website, it is true for any website, but I'm taking a particular example because I will be able to show you that, or other website also. So when you open training.internshala.com website on your browser, what actually happens is the look and feel part of the website, that is the HTML CSS part of the code, gets downloaded on your browser. Okay, it gets downloaded on your browser, and uh, then the code comes to your browser, and your browser then converts the code. Manpreet, if you can just share my screen. Yeah, so I hope everyone is able to see my screen. So whenever I suppose open a website like this, trainings.internshala.com, any website, it is true for any website. So what happens is, at this particular moment, the look and feel part of the website, that is the HTML and the CSS part of the website, comes and gets downloaded on my browser. It will look something like this. You are able to see the HTML part, not the CSS exactly at the moment. So the HTML part of the website looks like this. This is actually the HTML code of trainings.internshala.com, and that comes and resides on my browser. And now what browser does is, browser converts that HTML and CSS code into what should be shown onto you on your screen. So what happened is, this piece of code, which you can see right now, the HTML CSS part, came and downloaded on my browser, and the browser after that used this piece of code and converted it into what you can see right now. This, obviously, this is not a design. The developers at Internshala has not picked something up and picked up like we do it in Photoshop or maybe something. They have written code for it, and this code is written in HTML and CSS, something like this, and that is present on the server. When we open trainings.internshala.com, this look and feel of the website, the HTML and CSS part of the code, gets downloaded on my browser, or your browser if you open it. Not, I'm not very it's same for us, both are users. So it gets downloaded on your browser, and after that the browser converts the code into something like this, how it should be looking, right? Does that make sense? I believe yes. I will take a break in a while to ask you certain questions, but uh, so what I'm trying to say is, coming back to the slide, Manpreet. uh, so if you code in C, for example, I believe most of you have coded in C at some point of time. So if you code in C, we use GCC compiler to compile our C code, right? The GCC compiler is used to compile the C's code to get an output. So what we have written, so if you have written to print all the first 100 prime numbers, so we compile it, and then at the end of it, we get the first 100 prime numbers. So GCC is used to compile C's code. Similarly, we can say that browser is the compiler for HTML and CSS code. Though the technical term is not compile, but we can say that. So whenever you open a website, the HTML CSS code actually gets downloaded on your browser, and it's your browser which compiles. The correct term is not compile, but yes, I can say that for now for your understanding. The browser then compiles this HTML CSS code into whatever you see, and this is true for all the website, right? So just a second. Uh, so yes, so when I say the code gets downloaded, the look and feel code, the HTML CSS code gets downloaded on your browser, which actually means no matter which website you're talking about, no matter which website you open, we as a user actually has access to the entire HTML CSS code of any particular website in the world, and there is no way anyone can hide it from us. Meaning today, when I'm opening internshala.com or amazon.in, I can, how I will show you, how I will show you in a while. Don't worry. I actually, my browser my browser has downloaded the HTML CSS, the entire HTML CSS code of amazon.in into my browser, and only after that it was able to convert it into what you can see right now. So the code is actually available to me, and there is, Amazon can absolutely do nothing in order to stop that code from being visible to me, because if they do that, I will not be able to see the website, because that is how internet works, that is how any website works. That's the rule of a website, that HTML and CSS you have to expose to the users, so that whenever someone opens my website, if I'm the developer now, so if anyone is opening my website, I have to write code HTML and CSS, and I know that this HTML CSS code will actually will go from my server to his browser, and his browser will then use this code to convert it into what he sees. So technically speaking, you have access to all the code, HTML CSS code of all the website in the world, and you can use it, you can copy it, you can do whatever you want. But obviously, as long as you're a student and using it for the learning purpose, the moment you try to copy it and make a replica of amazon.in, they can sue you any day. So it's not for that. uh, yeah. So so coming to the uh, so I will be asking you certain questions. So I'll take a 1 minute break so that I can ask you a couple of questions to see whether you understood this or not. So Manpreet, if you can just be ready for the poll. So the question is, which of these gets downloaded on the browser when we open a website? The PHP, that is the backend part of the code, the HTML, CSS, the look and feel part of the code of a website, the MySQL, that is the data, the user data. So you have a quiz question in front of you. Just choose whatever you feel like. I mean, yeah.
So
So
88% of
no.
users have uh, said HTML and CSS.
And what about the other 12%?
Uh, 9% have said data and 4% have said PHP.
Okay, so this question was just to ensure that you guys are actually awake. So 12% people are actually not listening, which is fair enough. Last benches are always there. Um, so coming so to the next question. So yes, HTML CSS is the correct answer. That's what I told. That I hope you are able to see my screen. Yes. So a website has three parts: the look and feel part, which comprises of the HTML and the CSS; the data part, the user data, which comprises of the MySQL, and the backend code to interact with that data, which is the PHP code. So HTML, CSS, the front end, the look and feel part, gets downloaded on the user browser when we open any website. You keep that in mind. These are the elementary things, fundamentals of web development. So if you start web development, so I believe after today's session, when you go back and when you browse through different websites, you will keep these things in mind, and you will have this mind of exploding things up. We will see things how. So let's go to the next question, which is so browser acts as what for HTML and CSS? So does browser act as a compiler, editor, IDE? So what? So browser act as what for HTML, CSS? If I put it in another way, So what is the
So
response, Manpreet?
79% people have said compiler, 12% have said editor, and 9% IDE.
Okay, so just I will repeat for the people who have uh, mentioned it wrong one. So basically, it's the compiler, as I said. So like you code in C, and you use GCC as your compiler to convert this C code into its output. Similarly, browser acts as a compiler for HTML and CSS. So whenever we as a developer write a code in HTML and CSS, uh, so this gets downloaded on the user's browser, and after it gets downloaded, browser uses it, the HTML and CSS code, and converts it or compiles it, if I use the term, into what you can see on your browser. So browser acts as HTML and CSS says compiler. So that's what explanation is written. The browser acts like the compiler of HTML and CSS. Like GCC compiles a code written in C and produces the desired output. Similarly, the browser converts the HTML CSS code that gets downloaded to its desired outputs. So it converts the HTML CSS code that gets downloaded on the browser to its desired output. I hope we are clear. Let's get back. So what is so inspect element? So we talked about browser. We talked about the three components of a code and what happens with the front end part of the code, that is the HTML CSS part of the code, the look and feel part of the code. We discussed that, and browser converts it into the look and how the website should look. But what is inspect element? Now coming to that. So inspect element is a tool uh, which is present in most browsers by default. It's a tool which is present in most browsers by default. You don't need to install anything or anything. But when I say most browsers, it's definitely, I mean, for desktop. For mobile, things are different. In mobile, I'm not very sure if the newest versions have come up with inspect element or not. But at least a few months back, it was not there. So it's when we are talking about this thing right now, we are talking about the desktop things. So so uh, I'll show you. Whenever, so any website. So this is a website I had opened in front of you guys. I hope you can see my screen now. Yeah. So when I right click anywhere on a website, wherever I can, I right click anywhere on my website, on any website you have opened on your browser. Something like this opens, and the last option, the shortcut of it is a Control Shift I for me. I'm using a Linux operating system for that. But the last option is the inspect. So when I click on that, so this is the inspect element I was talking about. Okay, so we'll show it a bit later. So what is it about? So it's a tool. So it's a tool which is present by default in most of the browsers. I'm using Chrome right now. In Chrome it is there. In Mozilla, Firefox is definitely there. I have not used Safari and other ones, Opera, but I'm pretty much sure it must be also there. So most of the browsers come up with inspect element by default. uh, you may find terminologies a bit different. The words used internally, I'll show you that the words used internally for Chrome might be a bit different than the words used for Mozilla Firefox. But most of the functionalities which is present in Chrome is definitely present in Mozilla Firefox as well. I will be using Chrome, so I will be showing using Chrome. So you can follow this thing. And but if you use Firefox more often, you be sure that most of it is there, that you have to just figure out what's the alternate term for it. So right click anywhere, that's the inspecting. So I will just request you guys one thing. I mean, definitely I'm pretty much sure right now all of you are on your browser doing this thing. I will be requesting, please focus on this session. It's a very short session, maximum 40-45 minutes, remaining maybe 30 minutes. After that, spend a couple of hours maybe trying whatever you are doing. Because if you miss certain things, probably small nitty-gritties, you might miss out on doing these things when you try it yourself after the session. But anyways, recording will be shared to you guys. Yeah. So coming back to the point. So what did I say? When I opened this trainings.internshala.com, or whenever you guys open any website, the code of the front end code, that is the look and feel part of the code, that the HTML and CSS part of the code, actually got downloaded on my browser. And this browser was responsible to convert that code into what you see right now. So can I say this code actually resides on my browser for now? The front end part, the HTML and the CSS part, not the back end part. The PHP code has not come. Only the HTML CSS part has come to my browser, and it is residing on my browser right now. And what inspect element does is, inspect element allows me, since the code resides on my browser, inspect element allows me to edit that code. And if I edit that code, I will show you how. And if I once I edit that code, um, the changes which I make with that code will be visible right here in real time. Okay. So let me show you. So I open inspect element. Sorry, I'll just change the view. Don't worry, all of it will be shown to you how to do this, and I'll just focus on the things which I'm showing right now. So I open inspect element. It opens something like this at the bottom. It can open at the right also. We will be discussing all this later. So I opened inspect element. Don't worry how I'm doing it, because all of it I will cover. Just look into the magic right now. Just focus on the magic. So this there is a button, online training, which looks like somewhat like blue, right? So what I can do here is I can actually I opened this website in front of you. If you don't believe me, I will be opening here again. So what I will do is it's blue in color. What I can do is I will be changing the color of this button, since I don't like blue, to red. Probably if you don't like red, can we do it green? Or maybe black, right? So not only with if you think it's a setting with me and Manpreet, he's allowing me access, so I can show you with Amazon. So Amazon, I have opened Amazon.com on my .in on my website. I believe all of for you everything might be looking like this, a bit different. Maybe they use AI to just show different banners. Maybe you might be seeing some different banners, but more or less the look and feel of this website is this. So I will be changing the color of this now. What color should I make, Manpreet? What color do you like?
I love blue,
Blue.
but it was already blue, I guess. No,
It
it
was
was
not blue.
yellow.
Intentional
Yeah,
was blue.
let's go with blue then, because intern shala blue. I love blue.
Oh, I don't remember the code of Internshala blue, but I could make that. But yeah, so any color you want, you can make it. You don't like this background color white? Okay, it went away. It will be back again. Don't worry. Yeah, it's there. Uh, you don't like this background color as white? We can change that also. I think I will be able to do it. You need to know a bit of HTML CSS. No, wrong place. Yeah. So any change. So again, let me summarize what I said. So since when you open a website, the look and feel part, that is the HTML CSS part, gets downloaded on my browser. So the code is residing on my browser right now, and this inspect element allows me to make changes to that code which I did in front of you, and whatever changes I'm doing, you can see that that's getting reflected there, be it any website. So what's happening? So don't worry about the code part. You might some of you might not know HTML at all, some of you might not know CSS at all. You may eventually learn. Focus on the inspect element part. What I'm saying, that the fact that you can edit the code, how to do that, probably you need some basic knowledge of HTML. How to do that, you need to know some basic knowledge of CSS to know what actually you want to change. You must try this, but not now. After the session is done. But what is happening? Is the change permanent? Has the Intenshala button become black permanently? I mean, if you open now this trainings.intenshala.com, will this button appear in black in color? If you open Amazon.com, will this background color be appearing red, and will this appear to be blue? So if that was so, just imagine. So in a way, I'm saying that inspect element is giving me power to change the code or look and feel of any website. But that would be insane, right? And that's not happening. So inspect element is, since the code is present on my browser, inspect element is allowing that code to change on my browser, not on the server. So whatever changes I made is made on the browser. The moment I refresh or close this, it is gone. Or the moment I open it in a new window, new a fresh set of code got downloaded, which I did not change. I cannot. I mean, inspect element cannot allow me to change something on the server. The server code is preserved the way it was, both for trainings.intentionala and amazon.in. And whenever you open or I open again, it will get back our original colors and original things. But what we did was only this particular instance code we changed that. So if I refresh it, refreshing means I'm opening the website again. Everything is gone, right? So let me ask you a few more questions then. Back to polls. So the change made. So one question only for now. So the change made on a web page using inspect element, is it permanent? Is permanent, true or false? Manpreet, I'm assuming that questions are there because I can't see the questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we have the responses. 86% have said false and 14% have said true.
Okay. So again, for people who are still confused, so whatever changes, so the changes made on a web page using inspect element is permanent? Definitely not. So whatever changes I made, I showed you, is temporary. So as I said, the HTML CSS gets downloaded on my browser. We are making the changes there. Just inspect element just allows us to do that part only. The moment we refresh, the moment we open it, or the moment someone else is opening the website, uh, a new the original set of code gets downloaded. Obviously, inspect element cannot allow us to make changes on the server code. So Internshala might have a server where they have kept the code. Inspect element cannot allow us to change that. Inspect element can allow us only to change certain things on our browser because the code was present on our browser. Got it? So if I ask you so, uh, so what is the purpose of this inspect element? Let's get back. So what is the purpose of this inspect element? I'll share the slide again. Yeah. So think over it. So obviously, it cannot be like since it is fun, because obviously it made the thing what I did, I showed you by changing the color of the button of trainings.intentionala.com and amazon.in. It was fun maybe, uh, but it solves no purpose, right? Because at the end of it, I was not able to make the change color. I don't like the blue intentionala's blue, but I was not able to make it black, right? I did not like the amazon's yellow, but I was not able to make it red, because eventually if you open it, you will get to say the same color, and even if I refresh, I will get to see the same color. So what's purpose it is actually solving? It is not for fun. Obviously it is not for fun, though we can have it, but there must be some purpose behind this inspect element. So inspect element is used as a debugging tool, for developers. So as I told, there are certain developers sitting at Internshala who made this website called training.internshala.com. So this while making the website, I mean, obviously you are seeing that this code is there. I mean, it's thousands of lines of code. It's not simple to make it. I mean, it's simple. It's not very rocket science. You will learn it definitely, but it's time taking. It's thousands of lines of code. Even when you write a code in C, if you have not coded enough, if you have started writing as a newbie, you might not have done correctly at the first try. So we make mistakes, and definitely when you write complex codes, when you write bigger codes, everyone makes mistakes, no matter how good coder you are. So definitely we need something to help us find out those mistakes, and help us resolve those mistakes, or maybe reach and in HTML CSS there are no mistakes actually. There are just, in between processes, in between steps. So we need someone to help us, find out those mistakes, or maybe reach and in HTML CSS there are no mistakes actually. There are just, in between processes, in between steps. So we need someone to help us, find out those mistakes, or maybe reach and in HTML CSS there are no mistakes actually. There are just, to achieve what we want to achieve, and inspect element helps us do that. So as a developer, if I'm a developer, if I so suppose I work at internshala right now, and I have been given a design, and the designer came to me and told me, okay, this is how the website should look. I'm closing the inspect element for now. This is how the website should look. Suppose this is an image, and it's my responsibility, my team's responsibility, to write a HTML code for this. Obviously it's a massive thing, not massive, but it's a big thing. I have to do it. So definitely I might not be able to write the code at the first instance and make it uh, exactly the way it is. So that is when inspect element come into the picture. It will help me write the code in such a way that it helps me get to the final result very easily. So let me show you. So obviously it's not mainly about colors, but it's mainly about positions. So let me show you how it is done, and the detailing part of it. Just give me a minute. Let me close all the necessary tabs. So suppose I open trainings.internshala.com. So I right click anywhere, okay, and I open inspect. So I'm a developer right now. Obviously, as I said, as a user for of any website, you can access, how I will show you. You can access the HTML CSS code of any website because it resides on your browser. It's got downloaded on your browser, so you can access that. But that's not the purpose, and you can edit the code also. But that's not the purpose for which inspect element was being made. The purpose inspect element was being made was to help the developers code what they want to code. So that's the reason I've changed my role. Now from user, I have become the developer. Okay, so so suppose I'm the developer. I have been given this design and being asked to code this. So suppose I am in midway. I did something, but I'm not able to get to the exact point. So what I will do is, as I showed you, I will right click anywhere. I will click on inspect after what I have done. So assuming this is the intermediate stage of the website which I have created. So something like this will open. So now this is an inspect element which got open. Now I will explain you each of it, how it is done, what it is, what all you can do. Please focus on this. You will get the recording. You can try it after the session is over. uh, so you can see that inspect element is open. The simple thing, first key, there is a close option. I hope you are able to see my screen properly. Is this visible, Manpreet, this small crosses and all?
Yes, Anuj, it is
Yeah,
perfectly visible.
okay. So when I close it, it's gone. Right click, inspect, again it will come, again close, it's gone. So first thing first, how to close inspect element if you open it. The second thing is, there is a three dots here, three dots. When you click on this, so inspect element for you, for me it opened at the bottom, but for you it might open on the right hand side. As you saw, for me it happened at the beginning. So inspect element might open on the right hand side, at the bottom, or anywhere I can show you. So this is the three buttons, dots I'm referring to. When you click on that, there are option dock side. There are four options right now. You can see dock to bottom option is being selected for me. That's the reason the inspect element is at the bottom of the screen right now. For you it might be on the right hand side like this, because by default it is generally like this. But I will uh, tell you that you should use dock to bottom, and I will explain you at the end of the session why. You should, there is a very specific use case for dock to right, but mostly you should be using dock to bottom. But if you're, after me explaining you, if you're convinced that you should use right or anything, you can do that. But there is something called dock to left also, which I have not seen anyone to use. And there is something called open inspect element in a new window altogether. It will just open up as a new window, separate window. Doesn't matter, we can just dock to bottom again, because this is how I use it. So we know how to open it now. We know how to change the position of inspect element. So let me also explain with certain terminologies. This is the menu of the inspect element. We call this as a menu. um, and there are many options, but right now we will be concerned only with one. Today we will be concerned only with the one, the elements option. Elements tab is the only tab which we are concerned of today, and the rest of the ones we can ignore for now. Okay, so by default it will be in the elements tab only. And you can see that it has two parts, the left part and the right part, the left panel and the right panel. The left panel, uh, let's focus on this first. If you can see, if I scroll down, you can see contains the HTML code. I mean, some of you might be totally unaware of what how HTML looks like or how CSS looks like, which is fine because we are not teaching that today. But if for that you can just take my words. This is a simple HTML code without CSS. So this is the code I was referring to. So when I open trainings.internshala.com, this is the HTML code which got downloaded on my browser. And this is actually the code which the developers have written. So I have the access of trainings.internshala.com. Doesn't matter to you that much. I have the access of amazon.in also. You will also have that access. So this is the HTML code of the entire Amazon. So it looks small to you. Let's refer to the trainings part. It looks small to you, this much only, but no. There is a this thing, this arrow you can see. This is collapse and expand arrow. Right now, most of the code is collapsed, so that we don't get overwhelmed seeing the entire code. So right now it is collapsed. I can actually expand each of it. So when I expanded this, one element contains another element. When I expanded this element contains three more elements. I can expand this, I can expand it further. So the code is actually not small. It looked like small because all the internal codes were actually collapsed, and which we can expand and collapse the way we want. So the moment we collapse one of the element, the entire thing within that also gets collapsed. So I'm just getting you guys familiar with the elements, right? So this is the HTML code of trainings.internshala.com as their developers have written, and right now present on our browser. So now just observe the another thing. When I move my mouse, can you observe certain things on the screen? 1 second. No. So I'm not very much familiar with the code. I have not written it. Sorry. So I'm just. Where did it go? Part, yeah. Just a second, guys. Wait. Yeah, here it is. So the way I'm moving my mouse, just look into this. So what is happening? Can you observe certain things? So way I'm moving my mouse, so I took my mouse over this HTML code, this HTML element, and at the top you can see, I cannot move my mouse to show you because it will go away. So when I take mouse over this HTML element, at the top you can see some part of the web page got highlighted. So this HTML code is actually responsible for that logo part, Intenshala's logo part. And that is the reason when I take my mouse over it, the logo part gets highlighted. When I take my mouse over this, the second element, the other part of this header gets highlighted. Similarly, if I go into further detail, if I take my mouse over this button wala section got highlighted, and if I take my mouse over this, the dashboard section got highlighted. If I take my mouse over this, the drop down menu got highlighted. So wherever I take my mouse, if that is responsible for a piece of code, a piece of element on the web page, that piece of element on the web page will get highlighted. So I can move my mouse on the code below HTML, and the section which is responsible for that will get highlighted. The section of the web page which is responsible for that will get highlighted, so that you know exactly which code represents what part of the screen. Obviously, it is applicable below part also, but I have to scroll. That's the reason I chose the header. But I can show you this also. I can show you this also. So when I take mouse over this, recommended for Anuj part was highlighted. When I take mouse over this, the 5 trainings they have recommended for me got highlighted. When I go further in detail, and when I take my mouse over this, the Android app training is highlighted, and so on. Okay, so this is pretty much straightforward. So just move your mouse on the code, and you will see the corresponding section on the top getting highlighted. Very important point though, very simple. So don't worry if you don't understand any of the code. Definitely you have not learned HTML. We don't expect you to, but understand the concept of this inspect element. So when I click on it, so when I click off any of it, suppose let me show you again. Where did it go? Huh. So when I click on any of the element, what happens? You notice that the right section changes based on what I'm clicking. So when I clicked on this HTML element, the right code looks like something like this. When I click on this, the right section code changes. Very subtle change. You might not observe. I'm doing it again. I'm clicking different element, and the right section of the code changes. Okay, I'm clicking on something else, again change. Something else, again change. So what is this right panel? And if you know a bit, so right panel represents the CSS code. The left panel represented the HTML. The right panel represents the CSS code. So when I click the element which I click on the left hand side, all the CSS code the developers have written, the developers of Intentional have written, which they want to apply on this particular HTML element is shown on the right hand side. So all the CSS code, CSS properties, if you know a bit of CSS, all the CSS properties which are applied on this particular element are being fetched and shown on the right hand side of the screen, right panel. These are nothing but CSS code. I'll expand a bit more. These are nothing but CSS code. If you are familiar with it, if you are not, just agree to what I say. So when I click on this, what the browser does, what the inspect element does, is it fetches all the CSS properties being applied on this particular HTML element, and it shows us at one place. If you are aware of it, as a developer, I may choose to write CSS in multiple CSS files. As a developer, I may choose to write CSS in the same file, but at different positions, like something at the top, something at the bottom, something somewhere else. And so on. I may choose to write CSS, something for the tags, something for the classes, and so on. So there are multiple ways I may, as a developer, may use CSS properties for this particular HTML element. So all of that will be collected together and will be shown on the right hand side for that particular element when I click on it. Right. So that's interesting, but some more interesting things are they are divided into different sections. If you can see, there are lines and they're divided into different sections. So definitely, since it is fetching from all across, so the way I have written, not I, the way the developers of Intentional have written this code, that is how they are getting downloaded, but from different places, separated by these lines. So this piece of code here is written together. It is being fetched, but this piece of code is written in a separately, and that is also fetched. And where the code is present, the file name and the line number is also showing here. This index dot this number dot css is the file name where this piece of code is present, and this line 26 is the line number where this is present. You might notice that this is also line number 26, same file, but that happens because this is written in a production. So we actually combine everything into a single line. So that's the reason everything is present in the single line, but you will find certain piece of code which are written in different lines also. But in your case, in our case, when we are developer, when the website is not live, this will not be the case. You will write, it will show different line numbers. Don't worry. So right now, just agree with me, because this is a special case scenario. So it shows you the file name and the line number from where this piece of code is being fetched. So as a developer, just see how useful it is, because the code, you write thousands of code. Sometimes you are and you write HTML and CSS properties at different places, and it becomes difficult for us to actually arrange that and those things. What inspect element does is it fetches all of it at one place to show us, okay, these are the things, these are the CSS properties, all are applicable here. You can see some of them are being strike through, right? So what happens is, if you don't know this CSS yet, you will learn when you learn CSS. But if you know, so you know this, that if you write certain properties at multiple places, one gets overridden by the other one based on the preferences. So that is how CSS works. That is how browsers compile the CSS code. So definitely display property has been written at multiple places. That's the reason this has been overridden at some place. For font size, for example, just see, I will be able to show you. Font size is written at two places. Font size 14 pixel, font size 14 pixel. Same code, maybe redundantly or some reason it is being written twice, but this is being overridden so that by this one. So this had more precedence. So this overrides that. So all the crosses you see is being actually written, but the browser is ignoring that because something else is written above that, and that something else has been taken into consideration, and these ones are not taken into consideration. So don't worry. If you don't know CSS at all, this might sound a bit overwhelming, but you will eventually learn. Keep this recording video with you, and refer it again when you learn CSS. It will help you. Now, on the right hand side, there is one more tab called Computer tab. There was a Styles tab, which was the default one, which I did not mention. So Styles tab is the default one, and there is a Computer tab. So both of them shows the CSS code. The only difference is the Computer tab shows it in a much organized manner. So this Computer tab also shows all the CSS being applied on this HTML element, which is selected on the left hand side, but in an alphabetical order. So I don't have to search for it, right? If I want to see, okay, what font size is being applied here, I can go on the Computer section. I can look for F. Font size is 14 pixel. How much padding left is there? 0 pixel. If you don't know padding, don't worry. But I can figure out because all of it is written in a very organized manner. But in the Styles tag, it's not organized. It's the way we have written. They simply pull it from different places and put it in one place. But both are actually essentially the same thing. So what is next? So next is even more beautiful. So let us just a second. One more thing. So suppose you saw that it was getting difficult for me to find the code which was corresponding to. I mean, I was not able to find that code very easily. Which section is responsible for this? I wanted to change the color of this button, but I was not able to find this actually. So there is one more way is I can simply right click any of the element on the screen. Let me reduce the size. I can right click any of this element on the screen and click inspect there. By default, that part gets opened and highlighted. So let me open right click something else. You will notice, just notice the code below. I right click on this and click on inspect. It changed to this image because I right click on this image and clicked on inspect. So by default, this image got expanded and got selected as well. This right hand side also changed. That's the easier way to find out a piece of code, because visually you know that what is visible. So I wanted to change this color of this button. So I right clicked on this, clicked on the inspect thing. So I came to that button, this anchor tag. Any part of the code, just right click, AutoCAD 3D, right click, inspect. Yeah, this is the thing, AutoCAD 3D. This HTML code is responsible to do this, the top one. And you can see the selection. So this entire div is this div is responsible to get this entire block, and within that subsections are there. Okay, again, we are not teaching HTML CSS, so get back to our inspect element things. So I sorry, I clicked on the link by default. So I clicked on this button, this element. So what are the changes which we can do and how we can do the changes? So when we talk about change, it's always the three things. We can add new things, we can delete an existing thing, or we can edit an existing thing, right? Three things: add, delete, editing. So when I said we can change anything, so let's do some changes to this button. So first, let's change. We'll do addition and removal a bit later. Let's make some changes here. I showed you by changing the color, but let me show you by change. Like here is the color. When I choose the button, obviously you may say that this is an anchor tag. It's not a button. Button is nothing. Button is just look and feel again. So we can add CSS properties to this anchor tag and make it look like a button. That is how it is being done. So when I clicked on this button, its code is written and the background color of this anchor tag is being given this blue. That is how it got its color from. So what I did at that time is change it to black. Clicked on the value part. It opened this thing so that I can choose which color I want. I just click there, or I can write the color code, anything I want. FA. Sorry, too light. 3E. So anything. So that is how we make changes. I will show you more change. Like font size. Font size you can see is 14 pixel. So I want to change this. I want to increase the font or decrease the font. I click here. So just notice very carefully, when I clicked here, it got selected for me to change. I can type anything here, anything I want. I can type 18 pixel. I have to give the pixel px, and you can see the font size increased. It did not fit in. That's the reason it went below, but it increased. Not only that, I can use the up and down arrow key. Since it's a number, I can use the up and down arrow key to actually change, increase or reduce this font size. So I'm pressing down button. You cannot see. I can pressing this down arrow key, and you can see 17, 16, 15, and you can see the font size getting changed there. Real time change. Right? It was 14. Let me make it 12. So this is how we can change anything. Width. I'm increasing the width. If you can see, it was 162. I increased it to 180, 210. So any change you can do like this. This is how you make changes to some HTML element. You want to remove certain things, right? For example, let me remove the background color itself. Oh, the button itself vanished. Just color. Let me remove the color part. So what I need to do is I just need to untick the thing, the tick which you can see, and this property got removed. Browser is not recognizing this property anymore. So the FFF means white, color means the text color. Text color was given white color. I just removed it took the default one or something from somewhere else. That's the reason you can see it is dark brown. Okay, on hover it was coming back. So I can remove whatever I want. I can remove the height. So once I remove the height, I don't know if you can see, there is a slight change which is happening in the height. So 32 pixel is explicitly given, but when I'm removing it, it is taking some default value, which is a bit smaller. Let me remove the width. You will be able to recognize this. So I removed the width. It came to the default width. Right. So just unticking anything will remove that property from that element. You have to select that element, just untick anything you want to remove. Adding something new. So let me add some margin left. Margin left is a CSS property, if you guys don't know, which will add some space on the left hand side of that element, in this case the button. So anything I want to add, I will just put it in the top element.style. And also look into this beauty. When I click, when I type M, it shows me all the possible properties. Margin left. I typed, but I could have selected there. If I didn't type, I had the option to select it from here. And then I can either click outside or press a tab. It goes to the right section. There also it shows all the possible values. I mean, obviously it doesn't show all the possible numbers because that's infinite. So I can type a number, say 200 pixel. Just see. So 200 pixel margin is being added on the left hand side of this button. I can reduce it. Oh, it's too much. I'm using down arrow. You can see how it is changing. 20 pixel looks good to me, for example. So I as a developer, I realized, okay, the designer gave me wanted a bit more gap, and it was not looking ideal. So margin left was something it was needed. 20 pixel margin, if I add it, I will get the design exactly as the designer gave me. So but again, these changes which I'm doing here are temporary. The moment I refresh this page, it goes away. So what I should do is I can go back and make these changes in the actual code so that it stays there. So what is inspect element is helping me for to see and making these changes more easily doable. So are you getting? So the next thing and the last thing which I need to show you. So this is how you can make any changes to any element. So one thing I told you that I will be explaining at the end, the dockside right. What does it mean? So when I do dockside right and when I do dockside bottom, can you see some changes on the website? The button is vanish. That is obviously because when I did dockside right, the viewport, the size of my screen reduces. The size of the screen means the size of the screen which is responsible to present the website reduces to only this much. So as a developer, it is our responsibility that we should be able to create a website in such a way that when our users open it, so I'm not sure if all of you are using a desktop right now or a laptop. Some of you might be using a tab, some of you might be using a this mobile phone. And also mobile, maybe some of you might be using a portrait way of looking into the mobile, some of you may be using the landscape way of looking into the mobile. So depending on what you are using, you have different size space available for you to view the website. And that is when where we struggle. That is where as a developer we find it struggle. Earlier it was easy, it was only desktop, we used to create website only one way. But later on, I mean, I remember this was in 2000. I mean, I worked for Internshala as a developer in 2015. uh, Sarvesh, the CEO of Internshala, told me, okay, we need to make it mobile friendly. There are a lot of users who are visiting our websites from through mobile, and but our website at that time was only made for desktop. So obviously, it was people who were visiting this website through mobile. It was looking ugly. So we have a responsibility that, okay, for people who are visiting a mobile, we can write code in such a way that it can identify what device you are using, what is your screen width available, whether it's for your pad, whether it's for the mobile, whether it's a larger desktop. And based on that, we write code which will render accordingly. So we actually make websites for all the screens possible. And then based on your screen size, the different web page will be a different look and feel will appear. So if you had opened this website on your mobile, training.intentional.com, definitely the button will not be there because there is no space for it. So every that information is gone, but where it is gone? In this menu, hamburger, right? So that is what happens. So when you, so coming back, so that's the concept of device friendly websites. So as a developer, when we create websites, the look and feel part, we have to ensure that the look and feel part is done for each different kind of devices my user might be using. But coming back to this thing, so when we dock this inspect element on the right, what it does is it moves the inspect element on the right, leaving us very lesser space for this website, so that it is not any more desktop viewing website. It shows us the website which might be looking in a tab or maybe landscape mode of a mobile. So that's the reason whenever we are debugging for desktop, we should be using it dock to bottom, so that we now get to see the desktop specific website. And only when you are actually, so just imagine the power of this inspect element. So you can, obviously as a developer, I have to make Intentional's developer made this for mobile friendly. So when they've made it mobile friendly, when they were making it for mobile, so they had to debug that how will it look in the mobile, and they can do that by docking to right and reducing the size like this, reducing or increasing the size like this, the way they want. If you notice at the top, there is, I cannot move my mouse, but at the top you can see the width is showing 555 into 589. So they can reduce the width based on their mobile width size or whatever, and they can make the changes using inspect element how they want it to be. But better thing is they can click on that, this button, this new thing I'm talking about, toggle device toolbar. They can, the developers can click on that, and here something opens, and there we can choose which mobile I want to debug for. iPhone X. So this is how this website looks on iPhone X. Okay, Pixel 2. This is how my this website looks on Pixel 2. And iPad. This is how it looks on an iPad. Obviously, I have to make it 100% so that it looks better. I have to increase this so that it fits in. And then when I do inspect element, then I'm doing debugging for that particular device. So just to summarize, when you are debugging for a mobile or any different devices, you can dock it at the right. You can still dock it at the bottom like this. But when you are particularly working for desktop, never do it dock it at the right. Always dock it at the bottom. So that was precisely what I wanted to teach today. A small session on inspect element. There is a lot more to learn on inspect element, but this should be sufficient for the HTML CSS part of it, which should give you some good insight about how it is. I'll ask you a couple of questions just to see if you were awake. Um, but yeah. So yes, which of these acts as a debugging tool for HTML and CSS? Manpreet, poll questions, yes. Browser, web server, sorry, I forgot to read this. Browser, web server, inspect element, view page source. Which of these acts as a debugging tool for HTML and CSS? Is it the browser, is it the web server, is it the inspect element, or is it view page source?
77%
Yeah,
of audience has said inspect element, 13% has
and
said browser, 6% web server, and 4% view page source.
so browser is also in a way you can say, but since we are teaching right now, I explicitly mentioned, so browser is the superset. Browser definitely has the debugging tool, but actual debugging tool, it's the inspect element, right? So it's the inspect element. So let me read out the explanation. So inspect element acts as the debugging tool, straightforward. That's what I have been showing you all this last 20-25 minutes. But okay, let's go to the next question. Which of the following is possible to do by inspect element? uh, is it add a new style property, is it removing an existing style property, or what all we can do using inspect element basically? Can we add a new style property, can we remove an existing style property, can we edit the value of an existing style property, or all of the above? What all we can do? Yo.
89% have said all of the above, 3% have
Yeah.
said A, 1% B,
Huh.
and 8% C.
Because focus was on editing only, right? So yeah, so all of it can be done, as I showed you, that we can add any style property at the top of it, as I showed, by adding margin left. We could remove by just unticking the thing. Editing any value was possible, I showed you, and definitely, so that's the reason all of it is possible. So yeah, that's it from my end. I request all of you, so the video will be available, so I request all of you to go through the video and actually try all of it by yourself. Yeah, that's all, Manpreet, from my end.
Thank you so much, Anuj. It was an incredible webinar, and I'm sure we all got to learn a lot today. So, we are now opening the floor for questions. So, you can just type in your questions in the chat, and Anuj can take up 4 questions.
Thank you, Shivam. Will there be a next class? So this is just a session for you to. So why this? So this is not a question probably I'm taking, but I'm just saying you why the session was important. I feel as a student, I would have been a student. I would have enjoyed taking this, is because for someone who don't know what web development is, this gives us an insight, fullness key, what it is all about. So probably that was the purpose, so that you don't get very overwhelmed understanding, okay, is web development for me, is it too difficult, or what it is about. So that was the main purpose. How can we learn HTML and CSS as a beginner? Okay, I just reading out the question. I'll get to that. Where can I get this video? Huh? So this is probably is for Manpreet. Where can I get this video?
So, we'll be sharing the recording with all the attendees after the webinar. You will receive it in an
Or an
email from
email?
us.
Okay, okay. So how much need to learn CSS and HTML, CSS, JavaScript? And the one someone asked, how can we learn as a beginner? So um, so there are many ways to learn. I mean, uh, uh, there is a lot of content available on the internet to learn HTML, CSS, and PHP, and everything, the entire full stack development. Uh, you can choose anything you want to, but I'm talking about this particularly. We have this training at Internshala, training.internshala.com, and we have this web development training. So I was the one who designed the content there, so I know its content, unlike any other platform. So I'm not very much sure, I can't be very vocal about the other platforms. But I know I have been teaching web development since last 9 years. I have been a developer. I was working with Internshala for 3 years at its early stage. So knowing, having a lot of experience in this side. So this training has been made. We went live recently in the month of August, if I'm not wrong. So there is this training of full stack web development where we'll be teaching HTML, CSS, JavaScript. In CSS we have Bootstrap also. In JavaScript we have React also. PHP, MySQL. I hope I'm not missing anything. So all these things we are teaching in this training, and where we are covering everything from bare minimum basic things. So all these things which I discussed today are actually part of the training, but not sequentially, because I club this together as an inspect element. They are there in here and there as and when it is needed. So I will advocate you very strongly to you guys to take that training if possible. If you can take this, if you can afford this training. I'm not sure the prices and all, but if you want, you can take this training. Everything is being taught in a very beginner friendly manner. So
Yep,
are you saying
and
something,
even
Manpreet?
for that,
Yeah.
yeah, I would also like to add that we are in fact right now giving like great discounts on Diwali.
Oh wow.
So I'm just going to stick the link here. So you all can just use this link, go onto our trainings website, and just enjoy and learn some new things. So I think we can take maybe three more questions now.
Yeah, when I'm just brushing through, I'm not counting them. So how long, how can we learn is done. There was one more question. How much need to learn HTML, CSS? So there is no limit, Prince. This is one thing which is there. Uh, I'm a 2011 graduate. It's 10 years into the industry. I'm still learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and everything. So web development learning is never ending, because as a professional, so right now I'm more into a teacher than a developer, but as a professional, when you get into the industry, learning never ends, and that's the difference between IT field and any other field. So in IT field you continuously continue to learn, and there is no ending to that. And the good thing is we only need internet for this, and every content is available. But the question, if I change this question, how much do I need to learn as a student, as still a college student, then probably there also I can say that it can be broken into two parts. First is the elementary things, which is the bare minimum, which should be learned by everyone, that we have covered in our training, training.intentionala.com. The basic ones, like you should be able to create a website, a basic working website, a proper e-commerce website. In our training, by the way, we have used a project where we have used PG Life. I mean, the name of the project is PG Life, where it's like anyone can search and book a PG for themselves in a new city. So we have created that. We have used that project. So if you do the training, you should be in a position to build that. So again, I'm saying, so how much is needed? So you should be able to learn that much, which is sufficient for you to be able to create a website from end to end. So not only HTML, not only CSS, not only JavaScript, but also PHP, also MySQL, some part of Bootstrap, some part of React. All of it is there. So that much is bare minimum. And then I would say continue to work on it, project and all. Take some harder projects, more difficult ones, and there is no limit to ending. But that's the bare minimum part of it. So I can take a couple of more questions. How do someone know if we copy their website code? Doesn't matter. That's exactly the point. I mean, if I am working today, and in fact, as a developer, we do refer. I mean, do you think we write everything by ourselves? No. Most of the things are copy pasted, whether from Google, whether from Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is our best friend. You may find this Happy Teachers Day quotes, memes for Stack Overflow. So that's a place we learn. We copy code. So we do copy code from everywhere. It is absolutely okay. What is more important is, as a developer, as a personal uh, someone who is learning, or as a teacher, I would say, if you are learning, or whenever you copy, at least understand what you are copying. That's a bare minimum thing I'm saying. I'm not saying they never copy. Understand what you are copying. But if you're copying exact same thing of Amazon.com as a website, definitely, if you're small enough, Amazon don't care. But if you become big startup of some India, obviously it will sue you. So how will they come to know? Someone will complain, and obviously if you're small enough, no one will complain. You've become big, someone will complain, and if they think that you are bothering them, they will sue you. But doesn't matter. As a student, as someone who are at this point where we are learning, copying is absolutely fine, as long as you are understanding it and copying. You search for any problem, no? Even for PHP, the PHP code is not available. Even search for PHP code or anything, you will get everything on the internet. The point is how to use it for your use case is important. That's what differentiate between a good developer and a bad developer, to be able to understand and customize your own problem. Yes, webinar recording will be shared by email. So I think I was able to answer you, Daksh. Uh, can we do it in mobile? You coding in mobile is difficult, though I think our training has been there are elements added. Yes, there are elements added which tells you how you can also code in mobile if you don't have a desktop or laptop. But it will be difficult to code. I mean, you know how to type, but yeah, these days you guys are very much into this typing thing, WhatsApp messages, and also the typing speed should be good enough. But I will recommend you, if you have a laptop, please code in a laptop. You can watch the videos and everything in a mobile. But coding thing, I will recommend you using a laptop, because it's huge coding. It's not just small coding which you can imagine. It's thousands of lines of coding, and it's not difficult. It's just lengthy. How is Firefox Developer Edition useful? Did you mean the Firefox inspect element? It's exactly same as our Chrome's inspect element. Exactly same things can be done. Only the terminologies may be different. There, instead of the element menu, this tab, there will be some other name. I don't remember exactly. The usefulness is exactly the same. I hope if that was your question, Saksham. How can we learn HTML CSS as a beginner? I have answered you, Nirmal. Okay, I missed no. What I have wanted to learn for a good front end. I did not understand. What do I want to learn? HTML CSS is a must. JavaScript is a must, and these three comprises of front end things.
Okay, I guess thanks, Anuj.
Okay.
That was it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for such an incredible webinar, and thank you everyone for joining. Have a great rest of the week, and do visit Internshala if you want to learn more about web development and how to move ahead with it. Anuj has, as he told you, he has designed a course for Internshala trainings, and you can just go on, check it out, and use this link to avail some awesome discounts. Thanks, Anuj. Take care.
Yeah. All the best, everyone. So have a good this week. I mean, you have Diwali. Please enjoy, and all the best. Thank you.